ITA for banning my husband and father-in-law from the delivery room? Welcome back to Reddit Stories, where real, controversial, and sometimes unimaginable stories are told in a deep and emotional way. Today, we're taking a look at one of the most controversial stories in the Reddit community this past week, where family, personal boundaries, and the role of a mother-in-law come to the forefront. The story is titled AITA for banning my husband and father-in-law from the delivery room. A woman in the final stages of her pregnancy makes a decision that her husband's family considers selfish and insulting. But why does she do it? For privacy? For hurt? Or for something deeper? This story comes from Reddit user YouThrowRA Boundaries. We'll call her OP, a woman who is 9 months pregnant, about to welcome her first child. But instead of being surrounded by love, understanding, and support, OP found herself in a tense and stressful family battle, all over a decision she thought was very personal and legitimate. Who would be allowed in the delivery room with her? OP and her husband Jake have been married for 3 years. Everything went smoothly throughout her pregnancy until they started planning for the birth. OP was clear from the start. She wanted her birth mother in the delivery room. She was uncomfortable with having so many people witness the most private, sensitive, and painful moment of her life. And she didn't want her father-in-law present, a conservative man who often made controlling comments and who had made her feel disrespected many times. The problem started when Jake said, "My father wants to be in the delivery room. It's a family tradition. The older man in the house is always there to welcome the next generation." OP immediately refused. But Jake not only did not support his wife, but also said that she was breaking up the family, and that she should suffer for a few hours to please everyone. Feeling betrayed and disrespected, OP made a decision. No one, including her husband and father-in-law, would be allowed in the delivery room except her biological mother. When the decision was announced, her husband's family exploded. The father-in-law called OP disrespectful to elders. The mother-in-law remained silent but sent cold, suggestive messages. Jake was furious, even moving out of the bedroom for a few days to rethink the relationship. OP shared, "I felt surrounded. I was 38 weeks pregnant, needed peace, but the people who were supposed to be my support turned into the biggest pressure." She began to doubt herself. Was she being selfish? Was she breaking the family structure just for a personal desire? But as time went on, she became more and more certain of one thing. If she couldn't decide who was with her during the moment of childbirth, then what else could she control? Feeling isolated and with no place to share, OP decided to post on Reddit, asking everyone, "Am I a bad person for banning my husband and father-in-law from the delivery room? Or do I have the right to decide who is present during the birth?" A sacred, but also extremely vulnerable moment. Her story quickly went viral, becoming one of the most popular AITA articles of the week, with thousands of comments, heated debate, and clear polarization within the community. Immediately after being published, OP's post quickly climbed to the top of the Ramith Asshole subreddit, with over 42,000 upvotes and tens of thousands of comments within 24 hours. The particularly sensitive situation, childbirth, privacy, family traditions, and marital support, has created a fierce debate. We can divide it into 3 main streams of opinion. Supportive opinions. You have the right to decide who goes into the delivery room. This is your body, your experience. No one has the right to force you. If your husband can't stand by you in the most important moment, the problem isn't your father-in-law, it's him. Childbirth is a personal matter, not a family gathering. Don't let old traditions dictate your mental and physical health. Father-in-law wants to come into the delivery room? That's too much. That's a very reasonable line you've drawn. Neutral opinion. I understand why you don't want your father-in-law in. But is there a gentler way to handle it other than banning your husband? Jake is wrong to not support his wife, but there should be a more open discussion rather than just a ban. This is a complicated situation. I think both husband and wife need to have a deep conversation, not just an argument about who gets in the room. You have the right to say no. But is banning your husband too harsh a response? OP critic OP, you're treating your husband like a stranger. Not letting him into your own delivery room is cruel. Giving birth is a two-person thing. Excluding your husband from that moment will leave a huge rift in your marriage. It seems like you are being too sensitive to your husband's family, and that is affecting your future children. Your father-in-law wants to see the birth of your grandchild. You coldly and unnecessarily refuse. Top comments causing emotional storm. NTA, you are not just giving birth, you are risking your life. You need to be comfortable, feel safe, and not violated. If your husband doesn't understand that, then the biggest problem is him, not his father. 65,000 upvotes and over 3,000 replies agreeing, sharing similar personal stories. Many female users who have given birth have shared similar experiences. One told of how her husband forced her mother-in-law into the delivery room and had to undergo psychological treatment for 6 months afterwards. Others shared that the birth felt like a scrutinized performance, with her husband's family in attendance. Several nurses and obstetricians chimed in, confirming that the mother has absolute control over who is in the delivery room. Anyone else, including the husband, needs the mother's consent. The husband's role in the delivery room. Is it a right or a privilege? Pressure from the husband's family during sensitive times. Tradition versus personal rights during important life milestones. When personal boundaries are ignored in marriage, what should we do? After receiving overwhelming support and thoughtful advice from the Reddit community, OP returned to provide a detailed update on the situation. And it's safe to say, things are very different than they were at the beginning. OP had a serious talk with her husband Jake. After reading a series of comments, especially from mothers, nurses, and fathers who are highly aware of privacy in the delivery room, OP decided to let Jake read the post and the comments. Jake was initially angry, saying that OP's posting about her family was disrespectful to him and his father. But as he calmed down, he began to understand what she felt, especially the hurt of not being supported during the most important moment of her life. The conversation lasted over 2 hours, and OP had to explain multiple times why she couldn't accept her father-in-law being in the delivery room. It was a violation of personal boundaries, not just respect for tradition. Jake eventually apologized. He admitted that he was influenced by his father, who was assertive and domineering. Jake promised to prioritize his wife's feelings over the family's cultural expectations in the future. As for her father-in-law, he wasn't happy and is currently off the couple. However, OP said she didn't feel guilty, as it was a mental health boundary she had to protect. OP shared that she felt relieved and liberated, as if she had kept her own voice in a system where women are often sidelined during big moments in their lives. She also credits the Reddit community for helping her mentally toughen up and rationalize her feelings. Before posting, she had wondered, am I being selfish? But now she's convinced that protecting your privacy while having a baby is never something to be ashamed of. Now she and Jake have re-established clear boundaries and are preparing for the arrival of their first child together, this time with trust and real support from their partner. The story is a series of conflicting emotions. OP's hurt feelings when her husband does not stand by her during the most important moment, the moment of giving birth. The anger and deep hurt that comes from feeling forced by traditions that she does not agree with. Meanwhile, Jake is confused, torn between family traditions and his wife who is about to give birth. A difficult dilemma to resolve. The father-in-law, Phil, embodies patriarchal ideology, imposition, and the desire to control, creating a clear generational conflict. Overall, the emotions in the story come not just from who is right and who is wrong, but from the imbalance in decision-making power, lack of communication, and the failure to recognize the mother's role as the subject in the moment of giving birth. Reddit acts as a spiritual support and a place to validate OP's emotions. Comments from obstetric nurses, experienced mothers, and even modern-minded husbands helped OP see her feelings as not excessive or selfish. Reddit also helped her have the language to communicate personal boundaries, something she previously did not know how to convince her husband without starting a fight. In particular, thanks to the strong reactions from the community, Jake changed his attitude and dared to look back at his father's negative role. Character analysis. OP. Narrator. A strong woman, but initially oppressed by expectations and lack of support. She was not noisy, not rebellious, but used writing and sharing to regain her voice. Jake. Husband. A person who is not mean, but lacks a stance. He was strongly influenced by his father and traditional values, but the bright spot is that he dared to absorb and change after facing the truth. Phil. Father-in-law, represents the older generation where power and control are taken for granted. He has no sense of personal boundaries or privacy, and this causes a rift. Lessons learned. The mother has control over her body and personal space during childbirth. No one, not even a relative, has the right to force her presence without her consent. Tradition cannot be an excuse to violate personal boundaries. Old values need to be re-examined in the light of respect and communication. Listening to and respecting the feelings of your partner is a core element of keeping a marriage together. Jake made a mistake, but he saved it by admitting it and making amends. Finally, sharing, even anonymously on Reddit, can be the first step in helping someone find acceptance and healing. Today's story is a clear example that not all family problems can be solved by silence and endurance. Not everyone understands that giving birth is an extremely private and vulnerable physical and mental experience. If you are a parent-to-be, remember, respect does not come from being present in the big moment, but from asking, what do you want? What can I do to help you feel safe? Thank you for watching until the end of today's Reddit Stories video. If you find this story touching, please like, share, and leave a comment below. See you in the next episode. Have a nice day, and don't forget, every story deserves to be told.